The research question we will be discussing in this video today is, what is the cultural significance of West Indians in New York? This video will explore how West Indians have a significant impact on the city through their economic, cultural, and social efforts. The key sections in this video will be the context, subtopics, sources, analysis of proposed sources, the conclusion, and lastly, the works cited. Some of the sources explain the background of West Indians and how they came to New York, which is essential to understanding their impact, while other sources focus on their cultural or political impact. Without further ado, let's dive right into this. Starting off with the context, West Indians are a small group of people scattered across the world who aren't heavily focused upon. They originate from the islands of the Caribbean, including Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Haiti, Grenada, Guyana, and more. West Indians have a unique descent, with their ancestors mostly being from Africa and South Asia, due to being shipped to work as laborers on plantations. An example is shown on the screen. Powerful nations such as Britain and France owned the islands in the Caribbean, so they brought in slaves and indentured workers to work on the plantations, specifically sugar plantations, which is seen on screen. Although they are a small community, they contribute greatly in the areas which they reside, through their music, food, festivals, and more. One of these areas is New York, in which a large number of Caribbean people immigrated to in order to start a new life. They are an impactful community who are often overlooked, which is why it's important to research them and educate others on their culture, hardships, and accomplishments. Additionally, Caribbeans and West Indians are synonymous. We'll be using both of these words throughout this presentation. Moving on, the first subtopic we will discuss is the hardships West Indian immigrants endure traveling to New York. Their background and past is essential to understanding their cultural influence and why they resided in New York. An example of an immigrant who endured the hardships of moving to another country is an Italian man named Raphael Runca. Although he isn't West Indian, his story is very compelling and speaks to all types of immigrants across the world, including Caribbeans. An example of his journey is seen above. Quote, "We left from the port of Naples in November of 1921, aboard the ship Columbia. We got caught in the terrible storm. Columbia seemed as though it would split in half at any given moment, and could barely move forward and sail the waters. These were truly difficult and unforgivable moments." Raphael Runca. The hardships he underwent is no different from the challenges West Indian immigrants endure when traveling to New York. Moving on, let's look at an actual Caribbean immigrant, Janet. Janet appeared on the Brian Lehrer Show on WNBC NYC to share her family's history when immigrating to New York.
1918 and 1905. And the story of my grandparents was that my granduncle, Charles Pettiani, was a journalist in Trinidad writing against the colonial system. They basically told him he had no future. Came to New York in 1918. But the opportunities for a black man were limited. So he went to City College, then Howard Medical School, became a doctor at age 40, wrote for Marcus Garvey's newsletter, and also was involved with the Pan-African movement for liberation of all British colonies. And I really think it's important that people understand that our history is the history of immigration and how we settled in Harlem and how we made an influence on the political and social life of Harlem during the 20s and teens. And here's that.
As seen in the quote, West Indian immigrants had a great political influence in Harlem in the early 1900s, and their history represents the history of immigration. The story of her granduncle speaks to many who have experienced similar hardships. Speaking of hardships, the third guest on the Brian Lehrer Show highlights some obstacles immigrants face when leaving their home country.
because a lot of Americans don't realize that countries like that don't just let you leave. You need a lot of tax allowance, police allowance, a lot of government things to keep their talent in the country, because this is something that more affluent or families that went away to school. My dad went to
The harsh reality of trying to start a fresh new life in a different country is outlined by him and emphasizes another struggle some immigrants have to endure. Additionally, West Indians are a large group of immigrants in New York. In the early 1900s, English-speaking West Indians were the largest group of black immigrants, and today make up the largest black immigrant group in New York City. This is a profound impact that they have on the city. Moving on, the next topic we'll dive into is the cultural impact of Caribbeans. A prominent example of this is Brooklyn's Little Caribbean, which is seen on screen. Little Caribbean is known as a major cultural and commercial hub for Caribbeans and is valued by many locals in the area. Neighborhoods in Brooklyn, such as Flatbush, Crown Heights, had a growing population of West Indians and now showcases many aspects of Caribbean culture throughout the area. The article, For the Taste of Caribbean, Just Go to Brooklyn, the author Melissa Noel writes about the influence West Indians have in the area. Quote, over the ensuing years, most Caribbean immigrants in New York City settled in Brooklyn, Crown Heights, Carnegie, and Flatbush neighborhoods, where they worked in high-demand sectors such as healthcare, education, and domestic care. In the process, they stitched together networks and communities with a distinct Caribbean flavor. This quote highlights the cultural impact that Caribbeans have on Brooklyn, while also stating how they work hard in high-demand fields, further impacting New York economically. Moving on, shown on screen is a picture of the West Indian Day Parade. The West Indian Day Parade is very important to West Indians as it showcases Caribbean diaspora and their cultural impact throughout the city. It is a very entertaining, vibrant festival that attracts millions of viewers per year. This is an important source to show how the community enriches the cultural fabric of New York, and it showcases a huge parade that celebrates their culture and pride. The parade consists of Caribbean music, food, costumes, and is all displayed amongst everyone viewing the festival, so anybody can experience a piece of Caribbean culture. Another picture that shows the cultural impact of Caribbeans is the one of Little Guyana, located in Queens, New York. Although Caribbeans have the most impact in Brooklyn, there's also significant cultural influences in other areas such as Queens. Little Guyana shares the culinary traditions of West Indians, so it serves as a hub to connect with different cultures and invite others to enjoy traditional meals. This photo also gives valuable insights on how Caribbeans contribute to the economy through their small businesses. There's many restaurants and small businesses that Caribbeans open up that contribute to New York as a whole. The last subtopic we will highlight in this video is the political influence they have. The picture displayed on screen shows a group of Caribbean Americans protesting for Black Lives Matter. Many Caribbeans also share the same struggles as African Americans, so by advocating for racial justice, it fosters a greater sense of community. West Indians strengthened the Black Lives Matter movement through their organized protests and events, further impacting the city as a whole. As you can see in this photo, it reads Caribbean Immigrants for Justice, I Can't Breathe, We Demand Justice, End Racism, End Police Brutality, Black Lives Matter. Like many other protesters during this time, protesting Black Lives Matter, Caribbeans were part of them as well, further impacting the movement as a whole. To sum it all up, West Indians significantly impact New York City in many ways through their cultural endeavors, political influence, and immigrant population. Enduring numerous challenges and hardships from traveling to another country has led them to create their own communities, businesses, and advocate for social justice. Places like Little Caribbean and Little Guyana bring people from all walks of life together to create a sense of community. It also enriches the cultural fabric of New York, adding unique elements to the city's identity. Additionally, the huge West Indian Parade allows for a further display of culture and gives others the opportunity to experience it. Why is this important, you may ask? Due to their profound impact, it is important to study West Indians and analyze what they have done for the city. New York is one of the biggest cities in the world, and is the home of many cultures, ethnicities, and religions. By taking time to dig deeper into one culture, it creates an incentive to explore others.